video. We are going to be doing another video in this birth control experience series that I've been doing for the past couple years. I'm Vivian. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you for sticking around. I have officially been completely off of birth control for the past about a year and 7 months now. So I wanted to do a video just going over how that's been. After getting off birth control, I can truly say that I will never ever go back to being on birth control. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna put things into kind of sections if you want to check out timestamps below. I had a lot of you ask some similar questions, so I tried to group them into categories. That way it might help you better understand kind of like what I've gone through, but also if you are currently going through making that decision, I really hope that something that I say can help you make that decision a little bit more clearly and feel more supported in whatever decision you make. First and foremost, I am not a healthcare professional. Everything I'm saying is just my own experience, and I think that it's truly powerful to be an advocate for yourself, because at the end of the day, only you know how you feel and what's right for you, what's best for you. And every woman has a different experience, even with the same birth control. So there's so many variables to take into account. But this is just something that I wanted to share just so we can have an open conversation. And for any of you that are going through anything similar, have gone through something similar, that you are not alone. Education is powerful, knowledge is power. And I hope that this can be a tool for you in your decision, in your journey. So let's get right into the video. All right, so I have a whole table here of just like notes I've taken. Kind of mention this briefly, and you would know this if you have watched my previous videos, but kind of the main reason why I wanted to get off birth control was my mental health. I felt like at 25, I wanted to see like if I felt different. How would I feel without it? Who would I be without it? There weren't any changes, and I would know that too. So I did know though that each of these methods affected me differently. So that was a huge indication to me that it was affecting me, because each one was affecting me differently. So I was put on the pill pretty much as soon as I had my period, after the first couple months. So I was on that pill from the age of 12 to 18. I was on the IUD from the age of 18 to 21. 22 to 25, I had the Nexplanon arm implant. So I have videos of all those kind of more in-depth experiences, the pros and cons, the side effects, the reasons why I decided to do different methods. Overall, that's kind of like the timeline, and here I am at age 26, almost 2 years of being off of all of those. Because it was so long of me being on, I was kind of expecting it to be gradual, the changes that I'd see as I detoxed and purged and all of that. So a few things I want to highlight are mental health, like how my mental health has changed since being off birth control, weight changes, skin changes. I think like a huge part of this is libido and like attraction, how it's been since being off birth control, as well as alternatives for contraceptions. So let's get right into it, and I'll try my best to include pictures of like before and afters, and so that way you can get a better idea of what it is. So let's get into the mental health portion. Huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. A large part of why I decided to get off birth control is I thought that it would be the best decision for my mental health, and I think that BetterHelp is a great resource for any of you out there. If you can kind of relate to this, is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in the world who's just trying to figure things out and is having a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more accessible and more affordable. And this is a really important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding therapy a lot easier because it's online and it's remote, and all you have to do is fill out a few questions. BetterHelp can match you to a licensed professional therapist in as little as just a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist, and there's a link in my description right here. It's betterhelp.com/viviannnv. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a therapist for free without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Therapy was a huge tool for me as I was navigating the different forms of birth control and moving out of that also, because it's really hard to kind of keep track of how you're feeling over the span of years. I was dealing with brain fog, low energy, no motivation, depression, anxiety. That was just my reality, and I didn't really see it like getting better, which is such a sad thing to think now that I'm in a place now where I'm doing so much better. So if you're struggling, please consider online therapy with betterhelp.com. Just click the link in the description box below or visit betterhelp.com/viviannnv. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Because your brain has this way of making you believe that the way that you're feeling right now is the way that you've always felt. So when you have shifts in your interests in the way that you feel, or your mental health, I think having a therapist and journaling and just being open about your experience to friends and family can help a lot. That way you get a better idea of these changes, because like these journals I'm going back and looking at, and I'm like, I forgot I even felt like this. So yeah, like before I had issues with brain fog, mood swings was huge, irritability was huge, just random crying, and just bouts of depression where I just didn't want to do anything, didn't see the point of doing anything for weeks. And now, after being off birth control, I feel so much more motivated. Like the fog has been lifted, and I'm doing things like working out, which I didn't have any motivation to do before. I feel like I actually want to work out. It makes me feel like I want to take care of my body. I feel more attuned to my emotions. Not to say that I never deal with anxiety or I never deal with, depression. That's something that I still have, but I just know that I'm able to identify my emotions more, regulate my emotions more. I know my triggers. I know how to better handle it because it doesn't feel so just dire and like matter of fact. I'm able to question my emotions because I just have more clarity of thoughts and feelings. It can also be correlated to my cycle. Now that I have a more regular cycle, it makes just more sense. I'm more attuned with my feelings, my body, and all of that after being off. So yeah, I just want to make it clear, like I'm definitely not like on cloud 9 constantly and like perfect, happy all the time. Like that's just not realistic. To be human is to have emotions. There's spectrums to how you feel constantly. It's not just always high. So, but at the same time, it shouldn't always be low. All right, so next topic I want to talk about is weight. And if this is a sensitive subject for you, I'll include a timestamp here for you to skip this section. And when I say weight, I mean, I definitely feel like I had an average weight that was higher than it is now. But mostly what it really was that bothered me was just how bloated I felt. I felt like I was just constantly carrying on more water weight, more water retention, especially like around my face. And I had certain stubborn areas where I just held on to, I don't know if it was water or fat, but like higher body fat percentage for sure in certain stubborn areas like my back for some reason and my arms. So I actually read this book, which is one of the biggest sources of motivation for me to decide to get off birth control. I mentioned this in my previous video. Okay, so it's called This Is Your Brain on Birth Control, The Surprising Science of Women, Hormones, and the Law of Unintended Consequences by Sarah E. Hill, PhD. And this book I highly, highly recommend. It has just so much good information that was so eye-opening and honestly life-changing for me to read. I highlighted so much of it. One of the things that it mentioned is that birth control isn't necessarily like something that you take that causes weight gain. It's that there's chemicals like progestin and estrogen, and because birth control doesn't allow a regular cycle, these contraceptives are linked to weight gain because of the ratio of like progestin and estrogen in them, which causes the behavior of having an increased appetite, and habits such as sleeping more and not feeling motivated to work out. Yeah, progestin specifically can stimulate appetite, and estrogen can cause you to retain water. And in a normal cycle, your body will produce these, and it's like predictable. Which is like why, you know, certain parts of your cycle you're going to be more bloated, you're going to want to eat more, you have more cravings. But the thing is when you're on birth control, that's like just when you put a hormone alteration, you know, like that doesn't target a certain hormone like very perfectly. It kind of just puts everything out of whack. And if you don't know how your body's reacting to this, it can overproduce progestin, which stimulates appetite. It can affect your estrogen, which is your water retention. So, and amongst other things, right? That's just an example. So that kind of explains why I felt like I had issues with that. So when you're changing a woman's hormones, it changes what she does, which in the end changes your habits, changes your identity, and can change what makes you feel satisfied. And it could be overeating, it could be oversleeping. So that really resonated with me rereading that, because I remember reading that being like, just certain people like to exercise, and I'm not that person, but I want to be. And it helped me make that shift in my identity and the way I feel. Okay, so moving on to the next category. Speaking of satisfaction, next section is libido. And if you don't want to hear about this, go ahead and skip. I'll include a timestamp below. But I'm going to be very, very honest right now as I talk about this, so just warning. And this is a topic I think is, at the end of the day, pretty important, because a large part of hormones have to do with sexual hormones. Like that definitely affects it. And when I was on birth control, I just had little to no desire at all to have sex. It got to the point where I thought I was partly asexual or just like getting old really fast. I was like, I'm supposed to be in my 20s feeling myself, and you know, and I mean I felt like confident, but I wasn't like turned on ever, which I just accepted, you know. But it also kind of gave way to a little bit of irritability when, like, you know, affection was given to me. I didn't want it, and that translated to being quite cranky sometimes. You know, there wasn't a match as far as like attraction and the want to. And now that I'm off of birth control, I just look back and I'm like, that's just so unfortunate, because I love it now. It's a huge part of like the human experience, you know? And part of it also was sex was kind of uncomfortable because it was dry down there. It was very dry. That just isn't fun when it's dry. It's kind of painful and uncomfortable. So yeah, before birth control, I'm being very honest, that's just kind of like a rundown. And overall, like, I just wasn't very attracted to men. Like, yeah, like I like men, but I wasn't like, ooh, like he looks good. And like, I was with someone long-term as well, and I think I gave reasoning to just like, we've been together for you know, a while, so like that must be it, which could partly have been it too. But overall it was just like, yeah, like I don't want to bash on the person at all. It's not about that. It was solely me. Like I knew it was too. I just was not feeling it. But since getting off birth control, it's just so different. It's a complete 180. And this is a similar experience that some of my girlfriends had, because when I went off birth control after a couple months, I was like, you guys, this is life-changing. Just try getting off birth control, and if you don't like it, get back on, because a lot of them were having the same symptoms I mentioned before, like weight gain and mental health issues and all that. 2 of the 3 girls that I had seen get off of birth control, they both had long-term relationships, and they both ended them and went off and were like whole different people. Like they were before, like they never would leave the house, they felt like just kind of down and depressed, unmotivated, and after getting birth control, like they broke up with their long-term boyfriends, they traveled, they just took better care of themselves, they just were the most confident they've ever been. They felt like teenagers. Like that's how I felt. Like, I felt like a teenager again. I felt like I just had so much of the world to explore still, and I was like this young, just like adventurous woman that was just like, my senses were heightened and the highs were high, and I was able to experience just so much higher in things and feel more things. And yeah, the other girls that did that felt the same way, so it wasn't just me. Yeah, it's almost 2 years now, and I still feel that way. Especially like in my relationship with Clay. Yeah, the attraction's there for sure. It's very natural, and it's an exciting part of life. Like, you know, like being flirty and just feeling like sexy and feeling wanting someone else. I'm getting distracted. It's nice. So yeah, libido is definitely back, and it wasn't a thing before, which is a huge part of, I think, this whole experience. So I had to share that. I know it's kind of like a taboo topic, but it's a huge part of your life, or when you do, it's nice. I do want to kind of mention there are some vitamins that I've been taking that also help with, I don't know if it's necessarily libido, but keeping that area down there just really nice and lubricated and just clean. My girlfriend recommended me this. To this day, I'm like, you changed my life. By Azo. Basically they're cranberry pills, and then the other one is to just keep the urinary tract very clean. It's a defense thing. I take these daily, and if you take them, just take them for like 2 weeks, and yeah, you'll understand. They help a lot. And also, I used to get UTIs really frequently. I had a problem with chronic UTIs, and I don't really get UTIs ever because of this. So another kind of side note too, is overall just great stuff. All right, moving on to skin and acne. I was, for years, like I said, on birth control, so my skin was actually pretty decent throughout the whole time. I have my occasional breakout, but overall, I wouldn't say I had like acne. In my adult years, at least, I had some in my late teens. When I was in my early 20s, like I was pretty good. I was told that with birth control detox, there is a purge, and the purge was real for me. I had really prominent hormonal acne, specifically on my cheeks, which I have never ever in my life have had acne on my cheeks. I've had acne on my forehead when I was in middle school, and the occasional just like zit, but I've never had that. And it was for a couple months after, I'd say I think like 6 months after I went off birth control, I had that flare up. Better skin in the summer months. I think my pores just appreciate a little bit more humidity and warmth and vitamin D. But in the fall and winter, it was really bad. I had the worst acne on my cheeks I've ever had, and I've heard it's because of the toxins that are being kind of purged from all the birth control. And I had another girlfriend who this happened to as well, and I recently just really nailed my skincare routine, and like my skin is the best it's been, but I still have scarring from where that happened the past couple months, and I just started clearing up this past like month or 2 months. So yeah, it was pretty bad. It definitely, oops, my camera just died. As I was saying, yeah, the hormonal acne was definitely a lot, because I mean, a lot of people do take birth control to help with acne, and it works. So yeah, I think that my body just had to adjust, because I feel like I'm on the up and up now, and I've had less and less flare-ups, and the time in between have been bigger, so that's really good. And I've just been happy with how my skin's been and how I've been feeling otherwise, and I don't regret. The skin thing sucks, but I was told just hang in there, and I feel like I'm at that point where my efforts are finally paying off. So if you are thinking about getting off birth control, if you're in the process, I've been told this, and I can say myself, just hang in there. If you do feel like your skin is flaring up, like it's not gonna always be like that, hopefully. Obviously there may be other factors. Going to dermatologist might help, which is something I did, and just figuring out with what product skincare wise works best for you to try to just get through that time. Like vitamins and all that help too. So yeah, but the skin thing is real. It's better now though. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is periods. So like I mentioned before, the reason why I went on birth control when I was 12 is because I had really just irregular periods, just long, heavy bleeding for weeks up to a month, and not much time in between. Throughout the different methods of birth control, I had different experiences with my period. With my IUD, I pretty much just didn't really have a period at all. And then with my arm implant, the Nexplanon, I had spotting all the time. I almost was never not bleeding just a little bit, which was so irritating because I just felt like I had to always wear a liner. I wasn't ever really like just good. I didn't really have a real period. It was just constant spotting, so it was really unpredictable. And then towards the end, I kind of just didn't have a period again. So I never really had a regular cycle. So being 26, I almost feared that I would never have a regular cycle just because of how long I was on birth control. And thankfully the past 6 months I have had a actual regular period for the first time ever, which has been a really good feeling because I feel like my body is finally getting into a natural rhythm. And I think that this allows me just to be more attuned to my natural cycle, to understand myself more, my body more, nurture my body through the different cycles, different parts of the cycle. So the first year after getting off birth control, I didn't really have like a super regular period. I didn't have much of a period. I would just have like spotting, and then what I thought would be a period for like 2 days, or then it would be like 7 days, just all over the place. So like I said, it did take some time, but here I am after that first year, the past 6 months being more regular. All right, so last part of this video I want to talk about is contraceptive alternatives. Protecting yourself from unwanted pregnancy is huge. It's kind of the whole reason why we are taking birth control usually, right? And with that being said, I think that we have so many tools now, more than ever at least, to kind of figure out how we can do this in a less invasive, possibly non-hormonal way. And this is something I'm still navigating. I'm currently getting into natural cycles, so I'm really excited about that. I can kind of go more into depth about my experience. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below. It is a pretty popular one. Their app is really helpful. And it's 98% effective, which is great. And obviously there's like no side effects because you're not taking any hormones. It's just listening to your body and figuring out what windows are better to have sex and when you should be just not doing that. There are fertility awareness methods, which are 95% effective with perfect use. And that's just like being super aware of your cycle. It's, I think, a really good method if you have a regular cycle and are good at taking, you know, daily like basal thermometer readings and just being aware of your cycles and all that. Obviously a condom, if you just don't have like a specific partner that you're with and you want to be safe, you have to be safe, please use a condom. Another thing to keep in mind is, I know like the non-hormonal copper IUD is a method. Some of you suggested this and it works for you, so I want to put it out there, but I've also heard how it is quite invasive and can cause perforation in the uterus. I'm allergic to metals, I'm sensitive to metals, so I just don't know how that would be personally. Having something like that inside, it's harder to really distinguish when something's wrong, so I personally don't want to go down that route, but I know that's a really good option for people, so that I want to put that out there in case that could be something you could do. And then I did want to mention plan B, because sometimes there are moments where you're like, I don't know if, you know, I'm protected, if that, you know, was completely protected sex. So plan B can be pretty expensive, and I actually have on hand what's called My Way, and I found it on Amazon. When I first got off birth control, I always have some just in case, because plan B is expensive. It's $80. I mean, that in comparison to a pregnancy and a child when you maybe don't want one is, you know, if you have to do it, then there's that. But My Way is the same thing, but a pack of 6 is $30, or you can get one for $7. And this is on Amazon. I'm just like, public service announcement. Just because I'm talking about getting off completely of birth control, I'm not saying that if you are on birth control, that's the worst thing for you. Sometimes it is the best thing for you. It's just finding which method works for you. And taking a break from birth control can really give you a better idea of deciding whether or not that's best for you, or if you're better off doing a different type of birth control as well. Because like I said, all of us are different, and this is just my own experience. I think that's basically it for today's video. I hope that you found it to be helpful. I'll be sure to link the other videos I did kind of throughout this whole process, dating back. I think that first video I did was 4 or 5 years ago. So here I am now, completely off birth control, and I'm not going back. So I hope that you liked this kind of overview and the way I explain things. And I love reading your comments and your own experiences as well. And we can definitely learn so much from each other in our own journeys and help each other out. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching today's video. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, and if you want any other videos like this, or if you have other ideas as well. I always like to read those. They mean a lot to me, and your support means the world. So yeah, hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.